Hey guys, it's Peyton, and today I'm going to be talking about the Summer I Turned Pretty trilogy, both the books and the show. There's so many thoughts and opinions that I have about this stuff, and no one wanted this for me, no one asked for this, but I'm giving it to you anyways because I had the misfortune of reading all three of these within a week, maybe even shorter than that. And, I did it to myself. And did I enjoy myself the whole time? Yes, I did. I also rewatched the first two seasons of the show. The third one is coming out in July. I guess this is free promo. I'm fully giving it to all of you guys. Jenny Han, you're welcome. I have been a fan of Jenny Han for many years. I have a couple signed books from her. My mom actually met her for me. I still regret it. I was in a book signing line for somebody else and Jenny Han was also there. My mom met Jenny Han for me. So, regrets. I'm so sorry. Also, this is your warning that I am going to be diving into all the spoilers of the books, the show. I need to rant. I need somebody to understand me. I have to know that there's someone out there that also feels the utter frustration of these books. This love triangle, this whole diabolical situation that this main character finds herself in this series, I have to discuss. And we're about to have season 3. I gotta talk about it. I need to talk about it. Before this past week or so, I have only read these two books, The Summer I Turned Pretty and It's Not Summer Without You. Summer I Turned Pretty this is my third time reading it, actually. I think I gave it 3 stars every single time that I read it. What I really love about this series, both the show and the book, is just the good summer vibes. I just feel so happy in this beach house. I wish I had a situation like these people do, where they have a beach house that they can spend the whole summer at. How nice does that sound? I have learned to love the beach more and more throughout my time living on this earth. I love the aesthetic of the beach. I love the vibes of the beach. I love hearing the ocean. I just hate when it's boiling hot. That's my only issue with the beach. Sand can be annoying because it gets in everything, but even that, I'm good with it. It's a part of the situation of the beach. I love to read on the beach. This whole series, if you don't know anything about The Summer I Turned Pretty, is this character, her mother and her mother's best friend every summer bring their kids to this beach house. Obviously, one of them is rich, okay? That's very expensive to just have a beach house. And it's a huge house with rooms for everybody. The whole fantasy of all of this is why I read this. But the main character, Isabel, she goes by Belly. Belly. What an ugly name. And we're just going to accept it. Okay, let's move along. Belly has a brother named Steven, okay? But Susanna, her mom's best friend, has 2 sons, and it's Conrad and Jeremiah. They're all around the same age of each other, but Belly is the youngest out of everybody. Conrad's the oldest, and of course she has a massive crush on him, It just naturally happens that way. That's where everything goes wrong. Everything goes wrong because every summer, and then you have these semi-attractive white boys that she sees every summer. She's kind of at gunpoint supposed to fall in love with at least one of them. Well, unfortunately for her, she's fallen in love with both of them. And that's what's so infuriating. Why are you breaking up a whole family by having these 2 brothers that are in love with you, and then you can't decide which one you want to be with? And I do gotta say, I need to expose myself with this trilogy. Am I Team Conrad or Team Jeremiah? Yes, I am Team Belly. I'm going to support her in all her decisions, even though they're extremely stupid. I have to admit it. Her decisions are really questionable. I will say I have a very interesting journey with this series because since I've read this 3 times, I read the sequel, It's Not Summer Without You, twice. First time I read this, 2 stars. Hated it. Absolutely insanely bad. I just was so angry. And because the drama drives you nuts. It makes you so angry about so many things. So it was a 2-star for me. And this, I was finally trying to finish the trilogy because I've been reading these books for 15,000 years. I never finished the trilogy. I have since finally read this final book. and I have feelings. I needed to read it because that's what the third season's about to be about. I needed to be prepared for what we were about to experience, because what I really realized reading these two, I mean, it is so similar. So I was confused with myself that I was able to hate this book so much, but I loved season 2. I mean, so many scenes are ripped word from word from the pages. Like, these books are incredibly similar to the material on the screen. I do feel like Jenny Han is, like, improving things. Like, people like Taylor's character, I mean, her character was just god-awful in these books. I do think they improved her in the show. And there's just, like, small details that are just different, but there's a lot of the core scenes and elements are all within these books. So I didn't understand why I just hated this. I hated this so bad. And this is because my whole perspective has changed. We go back to the essential question, Team Conrad or Team Jeremiah. That's where we land, okay? And first time reading these books, I was Team Jeremiah. And let me explain myself, okay? Because Team Jeremiah is not the team that the majority of people seem to be on. For me, reading these books for the first time, all I can see is just how horrible Conrad is to Belly. And I'm over here rooting for the underdog. Like, she does not really have a crush on Jeremiah. Honestly, I don't think she ever truly did. This girl was desperately trying to like him. You know, she never liked him the way that she liked Conrad. But when Jeremiah confessed all of his feelings, and then Conrad is always being wishy-washy and, like, jumping back and, like, sacrificing himself and just whatever, she's like, well, I need to choose the person who chooses me, you know? And that is so valid. He was being extremely confusing, and that's why Conrad makes me so angry. But upon rereading, you know, and then we also have the TV show. I just want to say the TV show adds layers to these books. I feel like Conrad, his whole character is just more fleshed out, and we can understand better why he was acting the way he was acting. I still don't love a lot of the things that he was doing, but I have, like, more of an understanding. Something that the TV show really does is they highlight the anxiety and depression elements that Conrad was facing, and it really added a layer to the events of all of these books when he is really acting in a way that other people are commenting constantly that this is not Conrad. This is not the Conrad that we know. He's acting differently than he has in the past. In this book, people don't know why he's acting differently. And what I find very interesting about how this book was portrayed on the show, the first one, a key difference was made in season 1. Jeremiah did not know his mom's cancer came back. In the book, it was made evident that both Conrad and Jeremiah knew about the cancer coming back all summer. Like, Belly was pretty much the only one that didn't know. I think the key reason that they made this change in the show was to make it even clearer for people to let the ways that Conrad has acted in the past and during this summer and, you know, the current next year of his life, it was to explain it a little bit better. For Jeremiah to be so happy throughout the summer, it made more sense because he wasn't shadowed by knowing his mom was, like, potentially going to be really sick and potentially die. So Conrad was being really moody and, like, angry all the time for a very good reason. He was holding the secret from everybody. His mom didn't know that he knew, and no one else seemed to know. So, I mean, he was not going to be happy. He was not going to be fully focused on the romance between him and Belly. He clearly was developing feelings for her, and he was not equipped to fully react the way that would be appropriate because of what was going on in his life. And I feel like the show really touched on the panic attacks and just the utter stress that the situation brought upon him and removed that from Jeremiah, because Jeremiah in this book seemingly knew about it too, but he was acting a lot nicer than Conrad was, which I do think is valid. Everybody handles grief differently, and maybe Jeremiah's angry period would have come much later. You know, he seems to be a bit more of an optimistic type person and just more of a positive attitude in general. So maybe that would have come later, but I feel like, I don't know, let me know down below if you agree or not, but I feel like the key thought is Jenny Han wants to make it abundantly clear that Conrad is the one to choose by the end of this. I feel like people have been arguing over this series for years. I have been one of them. My Goodreads review of It's Not Summer Without You just purely said 2 stars. Conrad sucks. And you know, I've come a long way. That's why I'm making this rant today, because this series has rotted my brain. I have so many thoughts. I can't believe I've reread them and like had so many different thoughts while reading it. Every time I go back into it, I have a new thought about it. Jeremiah reads so much different than he does like in the past for me. One of the key things that season 1 really highlighted, and I feel like a lot of people noted, is it didn't really feel like Jeremiah had a crush on Belly until he noticed that Conrad did. And that whole scene when he like shoots the fireworks at them when they're having a nice talk by the water, he was angry and he was intentionally trying to keep anything from happening to them. And nothing like that has ever happened from Conrad's point of view. He's never tried to sabotage their relationship. Actively was trying to step away, and I think he stupidly shouldn't have done that. You know, we just caused years and years of wasted time. But whatever, you know? It did not feel like Jeremiah really wanted her until Conrad did. I do enjoy the friendship that Belly and Jeremiah have. I feel like it is way more apparent while reading the book with the flashbacks. Flashbacks never really focused on Jeremiah and Belly in the show. So I really feel like Jenny Han is trying to slash up anything that will give anybody a reason to like Jeremiah. And I do like Jeremiah. I feel bad for Jeremiah. But I do not feel what I did the first time I watched season 1. I forgot what happened in this book when I first watched season 1. I forgot why Conrad was being so moody. You know, I had no idea what was going on. I had no idea what he was facing. Like, it makes a lot more sense. I mean, what person who is like about to lose their mother and then afterwards loses their mother, what person is really going to act the way that they normally would? You know, there has to be some grace involved. It is not so much an excuse for some of the actions, it's like an explanation. You know, we have to, and with Jeremiah too, like all of these things have to explain things a little bit. Like neither one of these young dudes are in a good spot in their lives, even if they are putting on a front that they are. Like, this is one of the hardest things that they're ever going to have to go through. I think without the added layer of the moments that we have with Conrad, with the panic attacks, and, you know, the ones that we see with him and what's-his-face, that author that he was teaching stuff to, and the moments that he has with, like, Stephen in, like, season 2, I think, where they just talk about things. Like, he just feels like a more 3D person. Like, I can understand where these things are coming from, and you know, they've all known each other, they've grown up with each other, and now they're finally at the age where they are catching feelings for each other. But he's also going through these horrific things with his family. Like, I can understand why the whole thing is confusing. Moving on to book 2. What I really hated about this book the first time is, I mean, what I loved from the first one was the summer vibes, being at the beach house before they knew that anyone was dying. Like, the vibes are fun, okay? This, book 2, we enter a period of grief. Like, it's only been 2 months since Susanna has died. And that, I mean, 2 months is nothing. That's like a day ago, it feels like. So, I feel like I have an interesting perspective because my partner lost his mother 2 years ago. So, like, I've been with a person who has lost their mother fairly young. So I have this added, like, understanding, and I just feel like you cannot expect anybody to be fully in their right mind for quite some time. Like, it's something that you deal with every single day and will for the rest of your life. Like, It will haunt you. So in this book, we see more flashbacks of Conrad and Belly. Oh my god, they started dating. It finally happened. They had their little kissing moment. I will say, I was going all over the place. In this one, in the show, they had Jeremiah and Belly, like, kiss. And I don't think that happened in the book. Now, I just read this and it's already deleting. They had this whole, like, extra dramatic layer where Belly and Jeremiah were, like, making out a couple times. And then the Conrad and Belly kiss happened. In the book, I'm pretty sure Jeremiah tells her his feelings a little bit. And she's like, no, you know? And then the thing with Conrad and Belly end up happening. So I feel like in the show, they made it a little bit worse. They made Belly look a little worse. I mean, she can't help that she doesn't like Jeremiah. And then the thing with Conrad then happened. So it looked a little bit better in the book for her to go in and date Conrad towards the beginning of this sequel, the second story. And what we really know is how terrible he treated her at the prom. We got to say, it really sad. You know, she's had a crush on him her whole life. It's really depressing. And we see they have these just really beautiful moments together. The infinity necklace, like the cute, there's just so much cute things about these two. But we see Susanna's condition progresses. There was moments of hope where they thought the treatment was working and he's really happy. But then there's times where it is crushing him, you know? It's really, really bleeding into all of his actions. So the shit with the prom, it was not purely just Belly and Conrad. He explains, like, he is just angry at the world. Like, he's not in his right mind. Kind of talks about in the third one that he knew he was going to end up hurting her, not because he didn't have feelings for her, but because he was just not okay as a person. Like, he could not be there for anyone really emotionally when he was going through probably the greatest turmoil he's ever experienced. I do think he was in the right for thinking he needed to be alone. I don't really think starting a relationship with someone who is really important to your whole life, that's a very fragile thing. I don't think it would have been a good idea for them to continue. I do think he was right that it would have crashed and burned probably no matter what. Do I think it was a good idea to do it to her on her prom night, ruin one of her memories that people dream about and think is going to be so amazing? My prom sucked, you know. Prom is not nearly as cool as the movies make it out to seem. But her dress was so cute in the show. Like, it just upsets me that the night was ruined. But it really sucks. That whole thing sucks. I do think the points were there, though. And I wish it could have been done better. Once again, it's like an explanation rather than an excuse. Maybe we should have had this conversation earlier and talked about how I just can't be there right now. Like, I really care about you, but I can't. Like, I might be losing my mother, you know? Like, that's a lot to handle. And I feel like she would have understood and it wouldn't have been so horrible. But, you know, we have to have the drama. We have to have the drama. So in this book, read it the first time, I'm just seeing how I just felt like he didn't fucking like her. You know? He just did everything he could to get away from her, always pushing her away. That's all I saw. You know, I believe people should not be having to beg for attention and for someone to do literally the bare minimum. And I felt like originally approaching this series, like, that's all I was seeing was how Jeremiah, he was doing the bare minimum. He was giving her reassurance. He did want her at the time, and he was at that point capable of giving that to her. And the other guy, Conrad, he's just not capable of doing that. And the reason is not because he didn't like her or cared about her. It was truly, I mean, it's just not a good time in his life. It truly wasn't. And honestly, I don't think it would have worked out. They were just so young and immature. Something was probably gonna happen, you know? What I really liked about the ending of the series is that there was a time jump towards the end. And from my understanding, they're doing a time jump before, like a bigger time jump before we even get to the beginning of this book, which I think could make a lot more sense, because can we talk about what we start off with in this book. She's freshman year of college. There's just so much wrong with it. Okay, there's so much wrong with what happened in this. Like, not the best decisions, you know, from anybody. And then we reached the third one, which I never read before. This is the first time I read it, and I've only ever known my friend Brittany telling me that this book is the worst one. You know, if I thought the second one was bad, she really scared me on entering this one because it really is wackadoodle. She's like 19 at this point, I think. 18 or 19, freshman year in college, just like finishing that up. And it's summer, and she's been dating Jeremiah for 2 years. I do think questionable decisions. If you didn't really like Jeremiah, I don't think you should have ever dated him, man. I'm not convinced that she ever had actual, like, sexual chemistry with this guy. Like, I think she truly loved him as a person, as a friend. Like, that is a family member to her. And I think it's really unfortunate that we ended up ruining that friendship and connection. And then there's always going to be that awkwardness between these three people and the families. Like, it's always going to be awkward between the Conklins and the Fishers. And what an ugly ass name. Belly Conklin. Like, she really gave her, like, the worst name that she probably could have given someone. So Jeremiah cheats on her. I really hate it because, yes, I do care about Jeremiah. I do think he was a very important person for her life, a very important friendship, and I don't think they should have ever dated, let's be real, but we wouldn't have had the drama that we have right now. Do I think it's out of character for him to cheat on her? I do. I've always known he was going to cheat on her eventually, and that was like the main thing that really got to me and turned me completely. Like, I'm not gonna support a cheater, you know? I don't hate his guts, but I'm not gonna support her ending up in a relationship with the person who cheated on her. And I feel a lot of people watching the show don't know that he cheats on her, so I'm really sorry when you watch that. Because it's gonna ruin your ship. There is the argument that they were on a break and then he immediately went and did that, and I think that would bother me too. I definitely think it would bother me. But it's like, did he cheat on her if they technically did break up like 2 seconds ago? I feel like the way that it could have been okay is if he really had immediately told her. And, you know, the argument can come in that she saw Conrad during Christmas and they spent Christmas alone, and, you know, they dated for several months. So I think if I was in Jeremiah's point of view, knowing that she literally had a crush on this boy her whole existence, I would have been bothered by that too. And they were currently actively dating during that time, and Belly kept it a secret from him that they spent Christmas together, but he found out from Conrad because Conrad didn't realize she kept it a secret. And can we get back real quick to the second one? There's a huge change. Belly and Conrad did the dirty little thing in the show. They never did that in the book. From what I'm gathering, the show was heavily alluding that they had some hot chocolate and then they got hot, you know, like that's what happened. I mean, she took her shirt off. Like, they were heavily alluding that it was more than just a couple kisses. In the book, it was only a couple kisses. Like, she is still a virgin currently when we're entering this book. Knowing that knowledge, entering this into the show, this is her first love, her first big relationship moment, and then you're catching her in a lie where she spent Christmas with him while y'all were still in a relationship together. I 100% believe that Jeremiah should be mad about that too. So I just think they were not meant together. They were not meant to be together. So much wrong with it. Always gonna be jealousy between him and Conrad. And I don't know if I fully believe that Jeremiah would have cheated on her. But at the same time, like I said, they were technically broken up. So I don't think in his head he felt like he was doing that. And would he have done that if they hadn't just broken up like they did? I don't think he would have. I still think it was a shitty thing for him to do despite the circumstances, because they really had been together for several years, and I mean, he just didn't fight for her at all. So I would have definitely been mad. Absolutely bonkers for him to propose to her and for her to accept the proposal. I don't know how you're ever going to get me to understand that. I mean, she just deserves better than that, you know? And she freaking is still having feelings about Conrad. Like, how are you going to spend this whole book thirsting after his brother still, thinking about, oh, what would it be like to kiss him, you know? You're getting married in 2 days. That's why these books are literally insane. It's really bad. It's really bad that the whole thing, and you know, it's just bad as well that you were engaged, it was the day of the wedding, and then he didn't show up because he was mad that Conrad gave his feelings to you again. He was not going to show up to the wedding for a second. He didn't know how you felt about it, you know? Wonder if you felt nothing about it and you were just being honest. I'm getting exhausted. These characters exhaust me. I will say how it ended. I enjoy that they didn't immediately break up, Jeremiah and Belly, and then immediately she was with Conrad. I think it's great that there was this period of time that Belly got to be away from all of them. And she got to experience some life in Spain. And she got to, it seemed like, date around other than these stupid Fisher boys, you know? But Conrad wrote her letters, and I don't know if every edition of these books has his letters to her in there, but these letters were everything, and he wasn't getting any responses from her, but he kept writing her letters and giving her little gifts, and eventually she was able to respond back to him, and infinity, you know, like they were always meant to be together, so then they are together. And he still carries around the note that she gave him when she finally replied, like, and he does that because it gives him hope. I mean, I'm fully sold now. Belly and Conrad forever, but holy shit, this was a journey, and I cannot wait to see how the season 3 is going to be portrayed, because there's just very tiny differences in here, but they're kind of major. Belly and Conrad doing the dirty, like, that's pretty crazy when you enter this, and Belly is not giving herself over to Jeremiah no matter what. Been together for 2 years no matter what, you know, and that does make you wonder, because Belly and Conrad only dated for like a couple months from what I'm understanding before that happened, so I'm interested to see how that will enter this, and does he know? I don't know. The drama is too good. It's too good. I can't wait to see season 3. Comes out July. I swear I'm not sponsored. I had such a good time rereading this, or just finally finishing the series, and they're all 3 stars for me, but a very entertaining 3 stars. So that's all I need. Give me some entertainment. I really did enjoy that the audiobooks are narrated by the actors. So I was just listening to those and following along in the books, and it was really fun. I felt like I was fully immersed in the world. So that's it. Let me know if you relate to any of this. It's literally ridiculous. I don't know if anyone cares, but I know my friend Brittany will be here, so thanks, Brittany. Alright, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please give it a like down below. It really helps me out, and maybe subscribe. And I'll see you guys later in another one. I don't know what I'm gonna rant about next, but we'll find out.